Hi guys, my name is Jacquelyn and I usually don't review all the new launches, but I feel like I have to for Zyon Grand because this could be my number one top pick for 2025. So first up, Zyon Grand. It's a joint venture between CDL and Mitsui Fudosan. It's two blocks of 62 stories with one tower of 36-story long stay service apartment. So this long stay service apartment, right, means that you minimally have to stay there for 3 consecutive months. Some might ask, will this affect the rentability of Zyon Grand, the maintenance fee, so on and so forth? I don't see how it will affect, right? Because the rates for this service apartment, especially at Zyon area, it can range from $300 all the way to $1,000 per night. And they run on separate facilities and management funds. If anything, I think it will help to push up the rental prices at Zyon Grand, since private condo rental is also a minimum of 3 months. That said, service apartment tenants are usually a different tier. They are probably expats with the corporate allowances. Perhaps in future, when these expats get familiarized with the area and eventually decides to purchase a unit in Singapore, they might consider Zyon Grand. So that's your potential exit strategy. So moving on, we're District 3. This is the 2 blocks that address. We're 99 years. Land area, we're approximately 15,000 square meter. This is the biggest plot compared to the recent Promenade Peak and the other 3 River Valley plots. It's bigger than Oral Hill Residences, so you can imagine how generous the landscaping and space is. There's a total of 706 units, so it's a big development. And estimated car park lot 595, I believe that is more than 80%. That's a luxury given that we are integrated with Havelock right at the bottom. Moving on will be the unit mix, so this is very interesting. Promenade Peak was heavy on their 2-bedders, and as we can see for Zyon Grand, they are actually heavier on the 3-bedders. This is also a sign that this development is going to attract a lot of own stay buyers. And what I like about Zyon Grand, right, is their size is not too big, not too small. So we're like in between River Green and Promenade Peak. There's also 2 unit types here that I feel is a gap in the market and would be interesting to look at. First would be the 800 series 3-bedders. So other than River Green that came out with the 700 series, you don't really get to see such efficient size in the whole River Valley and Zyon area. And then also the 4-bedders. Promenade Peak, right, their 4-bedders are all the sky units on the very, very high level. So the quantum wise would be very attractive, and those whose budget can't fit into Promenade Peak, right, this is your second chance and last chance. So I expect the 800 series units to do well on launch day, probably also wiped out. Unless the developer don't want to sell, then just increase price, right? And I also like that they didn't keep the higher floors to only the bigger units. So your 1 bedroom all the way to 3 bedrooms, right? You also get a chance to live in the sky. Though it won't come cheap. So the higher tier would be their 4 plus study, the 5 bedroom, and there's only 2 penthouse units on level 62. And now moving on, these are the developers and consultants. So just now we have already shared these 2. Nikon is a Japanese world-class architect. So later on I'll show you their design. It is really, really very beautiful and iconic. Then we have ADDP. They are also very reputable in Singapore. Followed by EcoPlan. EcoPlan is a landscape architect. And then we have second edition, the interior designer. And Wohub, I think everyone knows this is Singapore's one of the top builders. Okay, so this is the design inspiration. I think it's very meaningful because the idea came from our national flower, the Vanda Miss Joachim orchid. So, ta-da, this is what we have. Very nice, right? I think this is going to be very iconic. One of the tallest residential building in Singapore. So next time you can just tell people I live in that orchid building. Everybody will know. So this is how it will look like. These must be the petals. Yeah. So why is everyone talking about Zyon Grand? Because this is one of the few integrated developments in Singapore. I think there's only like less than 15. So other than the residential part and service apartment, we have this Zyon Galleria, where they have F&B, supermarket, and an early childhood development center. So you really have everything, all your daily essentials in one building. And you just need to take a lift down, you are at Havelock MRT. No rain, no shine, no sweat. You can reach the MRT within just a few minutes. So recently I got the opportunity to live in an integrated development, the Woodleigh Residences. It is so convenient, I think you don't need to buy a car already. Anyway, the COE is now record high, right? And now this is the site plan. This is the service apartment area, which they kind of separate it from the residential area. It is pretty standard, 2 blocks. I like that it is all north-south facing. I mean, this is a little bit northeast. But compared to Promenade Peak, about 1/4 of their units have direct west sun, and those units are struggling quite a bit right now. We also have a tennis court that can double up as a pickleball court, 50-meter lap pool, the usual gym, yoga, and all that. Whatever a good project has, they also have. So maybe what I would like to highlight is that they have a residential host service. So this is what residential host services include of. I think to me, maybe this is the most useful. I wonder, do they like really bring the tower to you? You'll be like hotel experience ready. Okay lah, but no lah, I think it's you go in, sign in, sign out the tower kind. And for those who travel a lot, I guess the postage, where is it? The parcel acceptance might be important to you guys. And what I really like most is this residential events. So I had the opportunity to stay in a condo when I was very young, and a big part of my childhood, right, is all these residential events. So we do have like our Christmas, Halloween, Mooncake Festival where the kids come out and play candles and all that. Of course, there were kids that I would fight with, but that actually formed part of a core childhood memory. I don't know from an adult's point of view how they feel about residential events. I don't really like small talks in the lift, but I guess such events help people to mingle more naturally. It also helps you to form a kind of community that makes you feel at home and a little bit more inclusive. I guess this is also a reason why those who have a budget of 4 to 8 million are still looking to buy a condo instead of a landed. And for those who really like privacy, right, you just go and get a unit with private lift. Now moving on would be the location. So this is Zyon Grand. Over here is Promenade Peak. Havelock MRT is right below us. You can also walk down to Tiong Bahru Market. Very convenient. There is a River Valley Primary that's within 1 km. Lots of food option, malls, and Zyon Galleria itself. We are also very near Robertson Quay, so you can walk out, take a stroll, and there's a lot of al fresco dining in that area also. Alright, so now this is the connectivity. I think this sums up why I like Zyon Grand's location so much. So we're Havelock, right? One stop to the south is Outram Park, where SGH is. So while I was serving clients at Promenade Peak, I realized that there's a lot of doctors looking in this area. Then if we move down another 1 to 2 more stops, right, we get Maxwell as well as Shenton. Yep. So these are our CBD dudes. CBD dudes. Yeah. So the tenant pool is very strong. Okay, it's just 1 to 3 stops to CBD. And then if we move up towards the north side, we have Great Wall. If Great Wall shopping is not enough, we have Ion. It's just 2 stops away. And from here, we can go down to East Coast. And then if we move down all the way, it will be our future Terminal 5 station. So you don't even need to change any lines. You go straight to Changi Airport. Okay, and then if you need to change line, then it will be 1 stop away and 4 stops away here. I realized, right, that the Thomson East Coast line is my favorite line, although I don't really take the MRT. Not only because it's the newest, but I realized that the location that they go to, right, are those places that is very hard to park, but got a lot of good food. So every time I meet my friend at Duxton or we go like Keong Siak, the parking is so difficult. If I want to go to the east side, right, East Coast Park, Katong, right, also very hard to park. Ion car park is also very expensive. So I might really just give up driving if I stay here, and I will save a lot of money and skip the jam. If you really don't like to take the MRT, minutes drive to our expressways. Or if you prefer to walk, you're very healthy, okay, you can, other than at your doorstep, right, you can walk to Robertson Quay, Tiong Bahru Market, you can walk there also. It is like 3/4 way sheltered. Okay, you can walk to the Alexandra Park Connector as well as Zyon Food Centre. Orchard Road definitely have to MRT or drive there lah. Okay, and I'll give this location, right, a 9 upon 10. I minus 1 point because don't have top school. So although don't have top school, right, within 1 km, we do have River Valley Primary. The kids there, right, is atas one. They probably all stay around River Valley. So their background, their family background quite strong. Not top school, but maybe top networking school. Anyway, there's no conclusive evidence that there's a correlation between top schools and capital appreciation. With so many other factors influencing capital appreciation, I think this top school thing, right, should be the least of your concern. Whoever said it's correlated, share in the comment section. I'll break it down and show if it really holds water. And now, for those who are particular about views and privacy, Here you go. Personally, I'll not go too high, maybe cap at around level 30 depending on the price per floor jump. After all, the real highlight of this project, right, is the location, the integrated factor, as well as the price. So unless you're someone who really loves a view and wants to own one of the highest residential unit in Singapore, then by all means go for it, as long as it's within your budget, especially if it's for own stay. So this is how it looks like, living above everyone else. I'm sure many affluent buyers will just buy from the top because it's so rare, right, to get such a tall residential building with good views. You see, on the this is a view of level 60, the north side, right, and then the south side. South side, right, high enough you get to see Sentosa and water. Okay, and now we're moving on to the most interesting part of the presentation, which is the price. So this is the sales price formula I've shared before in my previous video. This is quite accurate, by the way. We use the land price plus 5% non-refundable ABSD plus 400 to 600 PSF construction costs. So usually for RCR, CCR developments that's bigger in size, we will use 600 PSF. And then 25% miscellaneous costs, and usually it's about 25% profit margin for the developers. And that works out very accurately for Promenade Peak that averages at 2965 PSF. So for Zyon Grand, I think a lot of people are looking forward to this project is because we all know that the developer got the land for a very, very low price. So as of now, we do not have any price guide or price matrix yet, but we have spoken to the developer and they did mention that their construction cost, right, is going to be more than 600 PSF. So reason being, because it's integrated, they have to go and build the restaurants, the linkway to the MRT, dig even deeper. And because the MRT is at the bottom, right, so the digging is more complicated than usual. Oh, to add on, right, for the MRT, you all don't need to worry about all the vibrations and all that because they built in a way, right, whereby the MRT runs between the both blocks. Yeah, runs between the both blocks. And also another thing is renowned architect, 一分钱一分货嘛. So estimated maybe additional about 200 PSF. So that works out to be 300 PSF average on launch day. And I still feel that it's very cheap because, right, if Promenade Peak currently is at 2965 and then we are at 3000, the gap is only 35 PSF. So usually, right, for integrated premium, in the past we're talking about 20%, then it dropped to 15%, 10%. But this, right, if they really sell it at 3000 PSF average, the gap is less than 5%. In fact, I remember it's less than 2%. So I think it's quite no-brainer, right? If developer launch this price or a bit higher or 3001, I think it's a super good deal. Maybe that's why Promenade Peak only sell 50+%. Everyone waiting to see how much Zyon Grand will be launched for. So anyway, this is my estimation. There's no announcement or official price guide yet. Okay, but for the sake of analysis, I've put in my estimated 3000 and this is the range that I'm looking at. So just now I said that I'll cap at probably at level 30. I calculated the per level jump of about 0.3%. That's very, very reasonable. So usually average, I think a good price per floor jump is about 0.5%. So if everything is within my estimation, right, then level 30 should be around at 3100 PSF. So this is the price matrix I've done up. You can just use it as a reference. Color coding is according to their unit type. Okay, and then I went to do this CMA. I spent like at least an hour to dig out all these numbers to make sure it's accurate. So I appreciate if y'all can help to subscribe to my channel and like this video. This would really motivate me to prepare more data and film more videos for you guys. So let's come back to the CMA. So this may look a bit complicated, because I try to squeeze and summarize everything here. So usually with my clients, I'll run deeper one-on-one with their specific budget and preferred unit type. So if you're keen to explore further and dive deep into Zyon Grand, do reach out to me on WhatsApp. So I pulled out all these projects that's near the area and also make sure that there are at least 200 units so that it's comparable. And I added Tribeca because it's just beside Zyon Grand. So this is the TOP year so that you can gauge how old they are. And then the unit mix, the type of units that they have. And then this is their average PSF for the project. Then I've split them up into their unit types according to the color code. So this is the median price of the transacted units in the past 1 year. This is a total number of units in these various projects that has been transacted. So this is very, very important, right? Because we would then know the demand or the volume and flow of each particular project. And this supply here, it's the number of units that's on Property Guru that's currently on sale. So by looking at this, right, we would know how much units are people throwing out there and whether it can be absorbed or not. 2 beta average, we're looking at about maybe 1.9 plus. So all these are really like out of the league. And there's a reason why all these are very expensive, because of its freehold status and more importantly because of its large floor plate. So all these units, right, they belong to the not older generation. They're like the 2010 kind of the era one. So back then, right, developers built a lot of bay window and planter box all there. It's because they don't get charged for it, but they can charge it to the consumers. So they build like free like that to earn more lah. So thanks to harmonization, prices are much lower now. Developers cannot anyhow make bigger aircon ledges and that sort of things. So layouts, although it sounds smaller, right, but it is very, very efficient. They only charge you for space you can really use. So back to the 2 beta, we only left with these 4 options. So it's the same story for Orwell and Martin Modern. Their PSF, right, is already very close to ours. So you see, right, if I 3000 PSF, if I were to pre-harmonize it, right, it works out to be about 2820 PSF. So this, right, is really, really very close to our Orwell and Martin Modern, right? So once again, if it's about the same price, will you buy old or new? So Martin Modern, right, overall, their floor plates are bigger throughout their 2 and the 3 and the 4 betas. Hence, their quantum is slightly more expensive. So Martin Modern, right, a little bit of background story. They were the first mover of the 99 years series. So back then in CCR, right, some backstory. In the past, right, only very, very wealthy Singaporeans or foreigners can afford to buy a condo in CCR because of the freehold status and the large floor plate, right? I think only your top 1% can really afford it. So later I'll show you these projects over here, their residency status. You'll realize that 40 to 60% of the owners here are actually foreigners. So that also explains why, right, the supply is so low. Because in April 2023, our government imposed a 60% ABSD for foreigners. So what does this mean? Our foreigners now, right, will hold on tight to these units because it'll be so expensive to replace them. And these are all old money also. Old money, yeah. And they probably bought it full cash, or by now they should have already finished their loan. So they can actually just leave it empty or rent it out rather than selling it and then not being able to buy the next one. Makes sense, right? If you're looking at these two, really might as well just get Zyon Grand. And then for River Green, their sales is actually very good. Once again, they're only left with very, very top floors. You can see the 2 betas were being snatched on launch day. And for Promenade Peak, the numbers does look a bit scary, 129 out of 320. So maybe some background on these numbers here. 80 units of this 129, right, are 2 plus study. So the reason why the 2 plus study wasn't doing that well is because of its layout. Later on, I'll show you why consumers don't like the 2 plus study layout. The study is in a very awkward position and it cannot be converted to a room. And now, when we look at the supply, I would say overall the supply here is very little, other than the ones that I bowl. In fact, it's quite little. Okay, so once again, this is Orwell. Yeah, so it's the same story, just that it's a slightly better situation now that they have transacted 18 instead of 4. And I think a lot of people are also waiting for Zyon Grand and Promenade Peak as well as River Green back then. So as a consumer, I think I would not buy Orwell knowing that the upcoming launch might be cheaper. So I think Orwell is going to be stuck for quite a while. But it's also understandable for a project that just TOP. Normally the first 1 to 2 years, there's a lot of people trying to flip. So the number is higher compared to, you see, Martin Modern. So overall for Zyon Grand's 2 beta, if you can get it below 2 million, I think there's a very good cushioning from the resale options. And now moving on to the 3-bedroom, this is the most exciting part of Zyon Grand, especially for investors. So our 3 bedrooms, right, I'll categorize them as a smaller series and a bigger series, like the compact and the premium. So just now, earlier on, I mentioned, right, that in the entire whole area here, there is no 818 square feet. There's only Orwell Hill with 861. Later on, I'll talk more about that. Okay, but the quantum is so attractive, just like River Green's 700 series. Many people who aspire to live in CCR but cannot afford that $3 million, this is your chance. So anyway, when we look at the 3 bedrooms, right, it's going to range from about 2.3 to 3.3 million. So once again, all these can cross out already. Okay, and then it's usually the same story lah, you know, the resale new launch same price thing. I just want to highlight in case, you know, in future you feel that there's competitor. So for Orwell, right, the average is about 2.6, right? They also have 861 square feet, but the difference is the layout. So their 861 include aircon ledge, ours don't. 2, their bedroom 3 can only fit a single bed. Our rooms can all fit minimally a queen bed. But Orwell Hill residences, their living room, right, is a long landscape kind. So that's a luxury to have lah. So you weigh lor, whether you want a proper sized 3rd bedroom or you want that long landscape living room. Then again, at the end, it is still resale versus new launch price, and the location is not near MRT and mall. Okay, I feel like I'm going to repeat this so many times. I shall not bring up this point anymore. Okay, same story as Martin Modern. It's more expensive because larger floor plate. Okay, what I want to highlight here, right, is actually the supply. So you see, right, it's really very little supply. The one that has the most supply, as usual, Revere. Expensive. Very expensive. Their launch day price is today's price. So I don't know, unless you really want to stay by Robertson Quay and look at some waters, I think all this really serves as a good cushion price gap between your entry price. So you will feel very safe, like, you know, you are one of the lowest entry price and you have the potential to catch up with all these units. The gap is really huge. So once again, River Green 3-bedder do super well. Not enough, they still have the 4-bedroom. They cheat lah, it's not even 4-bedroom. It's a 3 plus study, 990 square feet. Okay, so I included in here, but anyway, they only left 1 unit lah. Okay, Promenade Peak, they left 29. It's actually still good performance lah, but the 29 units here, right, is their 1033 square feet, the show flat unit that has very, very weird layout. I think if y'all see, y'all will remember the very, very long bowling alley and direct west sun. So I don't think they are much competitor lah. You're only competing with their 1076 square feet 3-bedder, which honestly the layout is quite nice lah. Okay, so 3-bedroom or 4 units can buy. Now moving on to the 4-bedroom. So the 4-bedroom is also a gap in the market because they are selling from about 4 to 4.7, right? So all these can cross out. What are you left with? Mirage, Tribeca, or which Mirage is old, Tribeca. You only have 1 unit for sale and it's going to be like once in a year kind of thing. So you need to snatch for it. Just now I also did mention, right, Promenade Peak, their 4-bedders are all the very premium one, the one in the sky. So they're starting from PSF is already 32XX. So those people who want to buy 4-bedders in this area, right, they don't have any options. You are the only option over here. So this is another supply gap in the market. If you talk about exit strategy, you will be the cheapest in the market out there. Plenty of buyers would be eyeing on your units instead of the rest. Okay, so this is the one that I mentioned earlier. So it's very funny one. You see, right, for Mirage, I mean, I go by age lah. You see the proportion of Singaporeans? Yeah, it's about 40 to 60%. And as time goes by, with the introduction of 99 year, still very little Singaporeans. I think back then Singaporeans still skeptical on 99 years how to buy. Then after that we have Revere, increased a little, followed by Orwell Hill, we see more Singaporeans coming in, and finally this is after April 2023. So suddenly we see bump 86% and 90+%. So this is part of the government's plan also, the localization of CCR. So our government is trying to attract more Singaporeans to come into the core central region, and all these Singaporeans are aspiring to move into CCR. Finally, you got a chance thanks to harmonization, smaller floor plate, 99-year lease. So I'll say that there's a turn back in time, okay, back to 2019, where prices is like secretly adjusted back. So for those who, you complain that you missed the 2020, 2021 spike, right? This is your chance. Be the first mover of CCR. And there will be more of such units coming in. If you see the master plan 2025, Newton, right, they converted some plots to build residential. And those plots are definitely going to be more expensive. And with more Singaporeans coming into CCR, we can help to push up volume instead of, foreigners keeping on to their unit and not selling. Can't push up the valuation. Okay, so now let's go into the layout. So this is their 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 538 square feet, dumbbell layout, standard, no windows in the toilet and kitchen. Okay, it's an open concept style, right? The only thing that maybe if I have to complain about, right, pick on something, right, is the DB box and the storage. So I don't know if there is enough space here lah, right? Then like very hard to open. Okay, but this is very small problem. Okay, this one have one stack that faces the north. Moving on will be the 2-bedroom, 2 bath. So this is 646 square feet, really very efficient. Okay, this is a traditional style, not dumbbell, but I personally like this layout a lot. Okay, because I feel that the master should have some privacy lah, from the living area. You don't want your guests to hear what's happening in the master room. Oh, and then also I wanted to highlight, every time when I go my friend's 2-bedroom, 1 bath, right, I realized that if it's dumbbell layout, this Jack and Jill toilet, right, one of the toilet door confirm will face a dining one. I don't know, if I'm the guest or whoever, right, I'll be very conscious of myself using the toilet. And then if I'm the one eating, right, I think the appetite maybe a bit not so good. Okay, let's come back to the 2-bed, 2 bath. So another thing that I like, right, is this open concept kitchen. So for myself personally, right, I prefer open concept because I don't do heavy cooking, and I also will feel very FOMO one if I have to go into the kitchen, tuck one corner, and then I cannot see anything. But over here, you can host. Then you can put like a island or even add, extra 6-seater. So it's a very big space, and I also like that the master has a window. This is bonus. Then 2-bedroom plus study, 721 square feet. This is dumbbell. So yeah, your toilet face a dining. Okay, but I mean, this can't be helped lah. This is as efficient as they can get. So right, there are 2 plus study, very nice, right? You can enclose and make it into a single bedroom. Flexible use. Compared to the one that I mentioned just now, right, Promenade Peak, their study is like at a doorway. It's very weird, right? And then there's like wasted space over here, yet you cannot conceal the room to make it into a room because it's so tiny. So it's just a lot of wasted space and awkward positioning and not great use, best use of the study area. Hence the 2 plus study at Promenade Peak isn't doing well. Whereas for us, nothing to complain lah. Yeah, 2 stacks of it, north facing, northeast facing. Now let's move on to the 3-bedroom compact, the one that I think a lot of people will go for because of its attractive quantum. So there's only 1 stack. This is very similar to the 2-bedroom layout where the kitchen is open concept, and then this one you can put a very long table. 3-bedroom dumbbell kind of unit. Another thing that I like is that the entrance of the toilet doesn't face the bed. So if your partner wakes up earlier and he's showering, the light will not disturb you. And because we are a corner unit, so bedroom 3 actually gets good view as well. So for this unit, it's open concept lah, so there's no window in the kitchen, nor for bathroom 2. Okay, and then now we are at the 3-bedroom deluxe. So the difference between the deluxe and the compact is the kitchen. So for this one, you get window in the kitchen, enclosable. I mean, there's a sliding door. Okay, but good thing that they have this glass, so you still can look out into the living area. So you won't FOMO if you have guests, or you can look at your kids, or even watch TV can, I don't know. Another thing that I like, right, is that the bedrooms are all tucked one side. So your guests, right, ending point is here. They use the toilet. They will not enter like the private space. Okay, and then maybe another thing that people might like is the privacy, so the entrance doesn't stare right into the living area. Overall, also a very nice layout. In comparison, this is the oval one that I was talking about. Same size, just that there's the, what's the aircon latch? The aircon latch are included. Quite big space, right? And another thing is their bedroom 3 can only fit a single bed. But what they have instead is a long landscape living. Yeah, and then after that, I added another thing here, the kitchen, and then you told the dining like a bit far. But okay, all these are all small problems. Now, the 3 plus study. So there is 2 sizes for it. They are actually very similar. The only difference, right, is the other one is 5.6 meter instead of 6 meter. Other than that, more or less, it's the same. Okay, so if you can afford higher quantum, what you get in addition is WC and a larger kitchen. And also, home shelter. So if you have a helper, right, make sure your helper is not taller than 1.65 or 1.7 meters. So it's quite standard. All bathrooms have windows, and then you have a large, long living room. What I find a bit awkward, right, is this study. Like, I don't know, very weird leh. And then if I choose not to have the study, right, and then shift my sofa here, then this will be wasted space really. So, I don't know, maybe you can let me know what can you do over here. So now, KYC, know your competitor, Promenade Peak 1076 square feet. This was very popular, it's fully sold out already. What they are left with is the 1033 square feet with the long bowling alley I was telling you about. And I also feel this one very weird, like the living area, right, is not by the balcony, so you don't really get to enjoy any view, right? And then this is the direct west sun also. So this is a well-used 3-bedroom premium. They run larger in size. Their aircon ledge is included. They have a very huge living and dining area that explains, right? So the quantum is very high. And now the 4-bedroom, this is like playing spot the difference. Okay, this one you can slowly 研究 yourself. I'm just going to pick out some of the things. More or less, right, it's quite similar on the layout. Just that, you know, the length of certain room is a bit bigger and a bit smaller. So this is the show you need. The kitchen is slightly different from these two. This is like a L shape. This is like the 11 shape. And then for the smaller 4-bedroom, the master don't have his and hers and don't have a bathtub. And then the master room is also slightly shorter. Okay, and then like for the 4+ study, right, they are the ones that start from level 44, and they also have this study area over here. So other than that, right, it's more or less the same. So the gap that we have been talking about, the reason why Revere and well-heeled residences cannot touch and no one's touching them right now is because of their price. So back then, right, Revere, they started off at 2924 PSF. This is like pre-harmonized. They're selling more expensive than us today. And then well-heeled residences, yeah, I mean, they start alright lah, 2633. Those who buy on day one. Now it's about 3,000. So as you can see, right, both of them have already reached this approximately 3,000 mark. That's where we are launching today. So that's why I say we are turning back time to 2019. And this is your second chance. This is a chart of all the $1 million flat transactions, and you can see, right, there are top 4 towns, and D3 consists of both Queenstown and Bukit Merah. So there's really a lot of HDB upgraders that is eyeing this area. So for Bukit Merah and Queenstown itself, we have a total of 87,000 units right now. This is the new addition. These are the 5 years MOP one, and then this Sterling Horizon will be the 10 years MOP one. So back then when we were serving clients in Promenade Peak, right, I bumped into a lot of clients, couple clients. Okay, they shared with me that they don't want to wait the additional 5 years. So like 4 years building plus 10 years MOP. And there's also couples who shared with me that they are not qualified because their income have already crossed the ceiling. So going forward, we actually expect more younger families or couples to look into prime area condos, but they cannot get the BTO. And we have put out the numbers, the sample size of all the PropNex sales from Promenade Peak, so we can see where are HDB upgraders going. So as usual, the top district 19, they are going everywhere. They are the ones that really benefited from the whole BTO and the ECMOP. They have made a lot of money and they're upgrading. And usually when people upgrade, right, they go to somewhere better. Once you go in, right, you cannot go out. So if you're staying RCR City Fringe, right, you don't upgrade and then go to the outskirts. It's very hard to get used unless, you know, you're going for a particular school or you're moving back to be near your parents. So for the next few years, right, we'll expect all these upgraders to come towards the center and where is Zyon Grand. Okay, and then of course the second runner-up would be our own District 3. So you know, when people get familiarized with a certain area, they just want to move around that area. Their kids have probably also settled down in the schools near the area. And then coming in next would be 12. So District 12, right, is Toa Payoh. So Toa Payoh is actually the next most, yeah, $1 million HDB flats. You can see a lot of HDB upgraders are actually looking at Zyon area. Okay, and even for people at D15. So I realized that D15 are people that are very loyal to their district, the East Coast people. They don't usually want to move out. But now I'm starting to see D15 people coming in this area. I think it's because of the Thompson East Coast line. So if your family, you know, stay in the Brown Line area, East Coast area, you can always go back easily by taking the Thompson East Coast line. So you don't feel so far away. So some of you all may say, I kept talking about HDB upgraders. What's the impact? HDB upgraders can really make so much money, have so much money to buy all these houses. Sadly, I'm not one of them who have benefited, but yes, they can totally afford all the way until like 4-5 million kind of house. That's why there's this whole sell one, buy two, right? So for example, right, this is the Sky Terrace at Dawson, right, the one that made record high price this year. Right, they sold at 1.658888. Okay, they purchased for only 532k. So their profit alone, right, is 1.126 million. And of course, along the way, the past 5 years, they will probably have paid their loan. Some paid more aggressively, some take their time. So assuming the outstanding loan is 250k, their sales proceeds, means what they get back in cash and in CPF, is more than 1.35 million. So they can easily use this amount to cover for their 25% plus stamp duty and afford a $4.5 million house. So if they pay more aggressively, right, the outstanding loan is lesser. You can imagine they have more sales proceeds and then the budget increase also. And in the next few months and next year, right, with all this coming up, do you think it will just be 1.65? When do you think HDBs will hit $2 million? So it's a matter of time, right? People ask about affordability. This is one of the answer. The other answer will be your inheritance lah. And our third exit strategy, more cushioning from the rising land cost. So because of harmonization, right, we are sort of the first mover, okay? Although I know you all say the impact is only 6%, right? But if you take a look at the land price and the calculation and everything, right, it seems like there is really a bigger adjustment in price in the recent years. So we are over here, the cheapest land plot, okay, and then the ongoing ones is going to get higher. Even Bayshore, there is an OCR, is already more expensive than us. So can you imagine with this kind of land price, I estimate them to sell at about maybe 2,600 PSF for OCR. And then this is also OCR. So River Valley Parcel C, how much do you think they'll launch for? I think it's going to be in the 14XX plus because they are CCR. And if all the River Valley plots and Zyon Grand Promenade Peak all do well, developers would be more confident to bid for this plot of land. And this will provide additional cushioning to your price. So in conclusion, layout, no problem. I didn't see anything that was very glaring. Okay, facilities, we have everything, maybe other than a sky terrace, roof terrace. Price, our entry price is very, very safe, and we have very good price protection or cushioning from our resale and our future new launches. Demand and supply, just now I shared with you all the numbers, right? So for demand and supply, the 1 bedder, right, I will probably rate it maybe 6 upon 10. For the 2 bedder, I'll rate it a 7.5 upon 10. And the 3 bedder, I'll rate it a 9.5 over 10. And for the 4 bedroom, I'll also rate it 9 upon 10, just because its quantum is slightly higher. So if you need information about the 5 bedroom and penthouse, right, please message me directly. I'll share with you more information. Finally, the location, I gave it a 9 upon 10, right, just because no top school. So overall, there's really nothing to pick about this project. So I've come to the end of my presentation. If you're interested to find out more, or if you'd like to view the show flat, or have a more in-depth number crunching with me, do drop me a text on my WhatsApp. Otherwise, preview is going to begin tentatively on the 8th of October. It is going to be very beautiful, and you must not give this a miss if you are looking for a property this year. So that's all I have for now. Thank you for staying with me until this point. I'll see you again in my next video. Bye!